UFC boss Dana White and YouTuber-turned-boxer Jake Paul have been going at it for what seems like years now. And despite all the trash-talking between them, Dana White has interestingly ruled out the possibility of denying Jake a chance to fight inside the octagon. Keep watching this video as we're about to tell you how Dana White backflips on Jake Paul's future in the UFC. First, it's where the money's at. Jake Paul is an interesting character. Apart from the occasional comments, the YouTuber has released a diss track, accused the boss of taking cocaine, and claims he underpays his fighters. Dana White pretty much shut down Jake each time he tried to get one up on him. But obviously, Jake's a persistent guy. We don't think he's going to stop until he gets what he wants: a fight inside the octagon. Despite the really bad history between these guys, Dana is one of the greatest fight promoters in the world right now, and he sees value in Jake. A guy like Jake just wants attention at the end of the day, and that sort of a personality is really good for the UFC. So when the boss was asked about Jake possibly fighting in the UFC, he had a very interesting take on the whole scenario. While talking to the Pivot podcast, Dana claimed that Jake is just making noise to get noticed. He also said that Jake doesn't really believe UFC fighters are underpaid. He knows the UFC is where the money's at, and that's why he's trying to get attention from me and our fighters. It's an interesting but contradicting take on the matter because a lot of fighters have said that they are underpaid. So who are we supposed to believe? President of the UFC or a YouTuber backed by several UFC stars? Anyway, let's see how things play out from here. Dana has pretty much made it clear that Jake could be fighting inside the octagon one day. He did make that exciting proposition of him fighting inside the octagon for fighter wages. Apparently, if he wins, Dana would have to raise wages, and if he doesn't, he'll leave the UFC forever. If it was us making all the decisions, we'd happily take that offer and have Jake fight inside the octagon. He'll win or lose, but one thing's for sure: it'll be a humbling experience for the boxer. Next, we have the complete opposite. Honestly speaking, it seems that Dana has done his fair share of research on the Paul brothers. In the same podcast, Dana said that Jake is the complete opposite of his brother Logan Paul. Jake likes to stir shit up, butt heads, and stuff like that. He loves attention. It's attention 101. Still, a pretty good observation by Dana. Logan is the mature one out of the two, but Dana is still willing to put all that aside and give Jake an opportunity to fight in the UFC. No serious discussions though, just words if you think about it. He doesn't announce anything about how he can fight in the UFC or what he needs to do to get that opportunity. Dana also linked it to the whole McGregor and Mayweather fight. He talked about how he's done celebrity things before, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But we're guessing that Jake will have to change his ways for the boss to really lay down a roadmap for him to finally get a fight in the UFC. A little while ago, Jake said he's really passionate about the whole mixed martial arts and improving fighter salaries. Dana White doesn't buy it though. We'll probably see a UFC fighter enter the boxing ring again before we get to see a boxer entering the octagon. Now, is Dana White a control freak? Just hear us out for a second. Even if we put Jake Paul aside for now, 3 of his fighters have openly talked about being underpaid. 2 of his former fighters have retired from the UFC and gone on to box Jake and make some serious money. Tony Ferguson, Paige Van Zandt, Francis Ngannou, and many more. All of these UFC fighters have shown their dissatisfaction with UFC salaries. Maybe Dana doesn't like giving up control of his prize promotion. He doesn't want to pay too much to his fighters. Maybe he wants to maintain the whole boss-employee relationship. The fighters work for him and it's not the other way around. But if you think about it, it's the fighters who Dana works for. Take away the fearless, charismatic, and talented fighters from the UFC and what do you have? Absolutely nothing. So maybe it's true. Maybe Dana is a control freak. Keeping in mind that the UFC made over $1 billion last year and fighters only got paid 10 to 15% of that revenue. That's just terrible. Whether you like it or not, Jake Paul is right about the whole wage thingy. And when you think about it, Jake makes more money than the highest paid fighter in the entire UFC, Conor McGregor. If you were to compare the ability of McGregor and Paul, or even put them against each other in a fight, the Notorious would absolutely butcher Jake. But Jake would make more money. Weird, right? It gets even weirder when the company is recording year-on-year growth, but fighters are making the same money they made last year. The longer Dana White denies his fighters from fighting in money fights against guys like Jake, the more trouble he's going to find himself in. It won't be long until his star fighters start leaving him. Francis Ngannou is already thinking of leaving the UFC to go fight Tyson Fury. And we're sure had McGregor not gotten the Mayweather fight, he would have blasted Dana too. We're thinking of Jake versus McGregor next. From there, Dana should think about making some serious reforms to let fighters make some good money on the side as well. Now, in other UFC news, fake it till you make it. UFC 274 saw a lot of drama as we got to see a lot of things go down. In the much much-awaited Charles Oliveira versus Justin Gaethje matchup, Charles ended up missing weight and was stripped of his title. But the match went exactly how we expected it to. It's not like we didn't expect an easy victory for Charles. We knew Gaethje would give him a run for his money, and he even managed to drop Charles in the first round of the fight. But that was before Oliveira put Justin into a deadly headlock and nearly choked him out. After the ref stopped the fight, Gaethje was literally asleep. That's when the notorious Conor McGregor took to Twitter and claimed Justin was faking it. Apparently, McGregor thinks that Justin Gaethje was afraid of Charles Oliveira, and that's why he faked it to put an end to the fight. Really interesting, McGregor. Is it just us, or has Conor started tweeting a lot ever since he announced his comeback? But anyway, I guess you have to fake it till you make it to save your own life, too. Classic Diaz. The Diaz brothers are known for doing some of the most bizarre and craziest things ever in the UFC. But this time around, Nate Diaz has broken all his records as he posted a picture of himself urinating outside the UFC Performance Institute in Nevada. Classic Diaz, you might say. But it's not like he drank too much water or something. Believe it or not, he's actually taking a shot at the UFC for not giving him a fight. Nate only has one fight left on his contract, and he's without an opponent for months now. Either Dana White can't find one, or he isn't trying. But Diaz isn't having any of that. He's posted 2 separate tweets asking the UFC to either get him an opponent or release him from the contract, as he has shit to do. So, just when we thought the Diaz brothers couldn't get any more controversial, Nate decides to take a leak outside their institute and write a caption saying the UFC can't do anything. Too cautious. Even though a lot of action and drama came out of UFC 274, the night wasn't all entertaining. As soon as strawweight champion Rose Namajunas entered the octagon against opponent Carla Esparza, fans knew they were in for a long 25-minute fight. Rose was just too cautious. She wasn't making any moves. She wasn't trying to attack. All she did was play defense. And we get it. When you're a champion in the UFC, the fame, the extra money, the recognition, all that puts extra pressure on you as a fighter. You don't want to lose those things, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't even try fighting. Michael Bisping thinks Rose shit the bed at UFC 274. It was just something that wasn't expected from her. She's literally a badass. From the way she carries herself as a champion to her fighting style is just so respectable. But what she did that night in the octagon wasn't how a true UFC champion fights. That's it from our side, folks. So, what do you think? Would you like to see Jake Paul inside the octagon anytime soon? Is Jake's accusation of Dana underpaying fighters true? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Remember, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more exciting videos in the future. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.